I am your friend, Dr. Charles Apoki. It is 11:56 p.m. It is 4 minutes to midnight. I had to wait till this time to do this video because the hotel has been quite noisy. Now, I was watching Syria and the fall of Bashar al-Assad. I also watched the fall of Saleh in what's this country now? Where these Houthis are. Yemen. I also observed the fall of Idi Amin, Mubarak. Several regimes have fallen since I started following international affairs. With the fall of Bashar al-Assad, we saw a lot of tyrannical acts, mass graves, people fed to a lion by one of his officers, and several dehumanizing things. Dungeons where people were tortured. And I came to some conclusions. Number one, tyranny starts when somebody is in power and wants to consolidate power around himself. Some of them come to power illegitimately. Some come to power through coups. Some come to power through systems that are not democratic. Like Assad himself and his father had been there for more than 50 years. Idi Amin came in through a military coup. And when these people come into power, either through rigged elections, compromised elections, they know that they don't deserve to be there. And because a lot of them try to outsmart the general populace, they see the occupation of office as an achievement rather than the betterment of the lives of their people as the ultimate aim of coming into power. And so in an attempt to exploit the people and to maximize their stay and consolidate their stay, they bring in issues like tribalism, nepotism into play by appointing their cronies, their relatives, and all kinds of people that might not be qualified enough to be in such positions. And because these people know that they were not qualified enough to be in such positions. Look at Bashar al-Assad. He wasn't really the one who was to be in power. I think his brother died also, and he was brought in, and he was not too smart, even though he was an ophthalmologist or a dentist. I don't know. Can't remember. So you see, because of their sense of inadequacy, they tend to become very suppressive because they won't produce enough results to meet the aspirations of the people will start protesting or grumbling. So these individuals that they employ into positions of authority that have power, either in the police, the secret service, or the military, attempt to suppress the people to please their master, who, number one, was not qualified, number two, might be legitimately there, number three, might forcefully have taken over power, and 4 might be incompetent in solving the needs and meeting the aspirations of the people. So these incompetent weaklings and cowards will attempt to suppress the people. One of the ways they go, one of the signs is the suppression of freedom of speech and dissent. Another way is the suppression of public gatherings, suppression of protests, and then tyranny by arbitrary arrests, detentions, disappearances, and sometimes they permit people, they delete people. They erode the institutions that are supposed to hold them accountable. They hold legislative arms of government, put them in their armpits, make them rubber stamps to pass laws that are contrary to the will of the people. They weaken such institutions by making their cronies members of the legislative arm of government. You see the case of South Korea. The president wanted to pass martial law, but the security agencies prevented him from effecting the promulgation of martial law, and then he was booted out of office by the legislative arm and maybe the judiciary in collaboration with the legislative arm. If it is in a society where the legislative arm, the security agencies, and the judiciary have been compromised and rendered incompetent and have become a rubber stamp of the leader, the South Korean president will easily have passed martial law and remained in office. So they deliberately compromise, weaken, and paralyze institutions like the judiciary, the military, and other institutions that can cross-check their excesses. So with arbitrary detentions, they instill fear. Then they bring in tribalism and sectional politics. They would bring in their cronies from their tribes, use one tribe against the other, and in so doing, divide the people so that they cannot have a united front to stand against them. And with time, those weaklings and cowards who prop up the oppressive system degenerate further. And because usually they might be from a tribal unit that is loyal to the leader, just like as the Alawites, a minority group, were loyal to Assad and were part of the oppressive regime. With time, other tribes would be subjugated to a point of submission. And then sycophants will start praising and hailing him and all that. So one of the things that happens is that they organize it in such a way, because with such regimes, such political structures, poverty, lack, insecurity becomes so prevalent that the sense of worth of the individuals are reduced to the barest minimum, that poverty is weaponized against them. And when you see any nation where freedom of association, freedom of expression, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, the erosion of the judiciary, the rubber stamp nature of the legislative arm, and All kinds of security agencies are now in the payroll, not of government, but they are subject to the whims and caprices of the leader of that country. They are signs that a nation is slipping or gradually sliding into tyranny. And it gets to a point, change hardly comes from within. The change comes from outside. Most times, historically, it has been proven that when the voices of dissent and opposition are stifled internally, it is external forces that come in to liberate the people. Ayatollah came in from France. Cuba, Fidel Castro came from outside. Uganda started from Professor Lule and all that. They came from outside. Kagame came from outside. The list goes on and on. Occasionally, the uprising starts from within when there is an overwhelming influence against the leadership that is oppressive. Tyranny is a very gradual erosion of these democratic institutions and the establishment of cronies that are blindly loyal to leadership. The surprising thing is that many of these cronies are cowards, weaklings. If you see after the exit of their leader, who is usually very selfish, he will run away with his family members and abandon the cronies who are foot soldiers in the country. You will see that, like in Syria recently, the soldiers refused to fight the enemies. They pulled their uniforms, hid among the people. And when some of them were arrested, they were like children, so powerless and useless. So, the best form of governance is when you see your people as your primary responsibility, when you see office not as an achievement, but a responsibility to make the lives of your people better, and you respect the institutions that are there for checks and balances, the press, the judiciary, the security agencies, the legislative arm, and you bring the dividends of governance to the people, you will find out that your nation will progress. But any leader that fails to do this always ends up very badly. The president in Sudan, where is he today? The former president in Sudan. The president in Egypt, Mubarak, where is he today? Saleh in Yemen, what happened to him? Bashar Assad, what happened to him? Idi Amin, what happened to him? Gaddafi, what happened to him? The list goes on and on. Ceausescu in Romania, what happened to him? Power is very transient. Very, very transient. It is better to leave a good history and a good legacy behind through good governance than to leave a bad name behind. Those who have ears, let them hear. I am Dr. Charles Apoki. I have a webinar coming up on the 10th and on the 11th of January, tagged Hitting the Ground Running financially in 2025. And we have properties for sale. God bless you. Send a message to +234 80 21 21 92 62. God bless you.